All right, welcome to the Backyard Professor live show. We're going live on Saturday afternoon. We appreciate you guys in the audience and gals adjusting your schedule. It dawned on me that tomorrow's Easter, and I don't know about doing a show on Easter. You know, it's probably not the best of time, and I have with me the Tedesco brothers, and they have so graciously offered to give me their time on Saturday, the day before Easter. So this helps make our Easter all that much better. I consider the Tedescos great friends of this channel, and I am very happy to have them back. We've got some new developments that they want to address and talk about, and potentially a very interesting video if we can bring that up. So Jerry, John, you guys are looking great. How you been the last 3
How you doing, Kerry? We're glad to be back.
Pretty good. Doing pretty good, Kerry.
Yeah, we're hanging in there.
That's good. That's good. No flat tires on the old night.
No.
Okay, good.
None of that. That's, it's been a journey though.
Excellent. So I have just heard in the wings, I have not followed this, and yet I realize the importance, because it appears to me that someone is trying to set a precedence that really is not helpful to the UFO community. And so you guys are involved with this. I don't know if I dare call it a controversy as such. I don't know. I'll let you guys describe what's happening and your reactions to some things that Skywatcher has said and others about your work. Apparently, you're not being represented accurately, and I think that's not gonna fly with the UFO community. We're not interested in being competitors.
No,
we're more interested. We're all looking for the same blasted thing, as far as I'm concerned. So if you guys would like to explain what's going on, I'm being very general because I don't know about it, but I have it straight from the horse's mouth right here with you guys. So what is going on lately with you guys?
Okay, so I mean, we got a lot going on, but we try to keep up with what's going on with everybody else, because the big thing is collaboration is really important in this work. And when people work in John always refers to it as the work in silos, that's not helpful. It's not helpful to the cause. It's not helpful when we don't acknowledge the work of others in this field that are doing work. It really slows the pace. It's not helpful. And we've been at this now for 4 years, 3 years in the field, and to be honest with you, we have had yet to hear any kind of mention or acknowledgement from the academic institutions, some of the, especially the three main think tanks in this field: your Harvard University's Galileo Project, Gary Nolan's Soul Foundation, and Robert Powell's SCU. Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, we were a little bit more involved, and there was a collaboration between these different organizations, and since then, over time, it's we're finding it more and more difficult to work with these folks, and it's even the sharing of information. There's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of data that we've collected. Now we are working with other groups, there's a Canadian group we're working with, group over in Europe as well. And, we're sharing ideas, thoughts, equipment, anything that we've come up with, that would help researchers. We actually, came up with a couple of detectors. One is a multispectral detector, and the other is a millimeter wave radar. And this is the kind of stuff that we want to make available to other researchers as well, because we're finding that it's beneficial. It's helping with the identity, and at least trying to find out if there's something anomalous that doesn't align with normal air traffic or air traffic patterns, that sort of thing. So it's what we're looking for is to be able to have an open line of communication with these other folks, And it's not something that we don't want to make a big issue of it. It's this is something that we don't want to do, and it's not helpful. It's not helpful for anybody. Going forward, especially towards disclosure. For some groups, they may be a little bit ahead of the curve. There's some very important data, some important information. There's some images, there's some video that would definitely help if we have much more of a collaboration and the sharing of thought and ideas. And I think that's what's missing. That's been a real problem.
That's interesting. Yeah, we don't want and it's not like we don't want what we don't want, in my opinion, and I think this is what you're leading to, is we know our government is already so compartmentalized that they don't actually know what any of the other departments are doing or know. And that is a huge problem.
Yes.
It appears to me like that's what you're beginning to see happening. And we want to head that off at the pass, as it were, because what we need more than anything else in this UFO community is really good, open cooperation, coordination, and help with the evidence, the information, the communication, and the equipment. Have I got that about right?
Absolutely. That's really well said, Kerry. That's exactly what's happening. We have that same kind of compartmentalization happening in the research community, with the academics sticking to themselves, industry experts not being allowed in. There were certain people's work being ignored or frowned upon or overly critiqued. And not being properly shared or acknowledged. For us, it was we started to get pretty bothered by this when we published our first paper. Let's see, we published our first paper. It was I don't know if anybody can see that.
Oh yeah.
It's the INS Sky UAP Research and Field Study of New York's Long Island Coast. It was published in the Open Journal of Applied Sciences, and at this time it was a 2-year study. In this, it was a phase 1 study. Once this got published, the first thing we saw in Twitter on one of the Twitter feeds is X now. It was a pushback from Harvard University's Galileo project. They decided to distance themselves from our work and our paper, and they made that clear in this post. People could probably see, if they go back, they'll probably see that. I think a lot of people know about it. Yeah, and initially they didn't acknowledge us as affiliates of the GP, the Galileo project.
Oh wow!
Over a 24-hour period, they did correct that. But as far as the work that we do, it wasn't sanctioned by their principal research people, is what they're saying. Although, we have had conversations with them on a collaboration, coming out to Robert Moses, bring satellite systems out and working side by side. But that didn't, come to pass. And, we still reach out. We still, we want to work with these folks. And, to get that kind of a response, especially after a publication, we would hope that, there would be a little bit more, some kind of a positive spin on it, as far as, what we've achieved at that point.
The last thing we need is academic jealousy and people trying to compete and outcompete. Even if, you guys are engineers, you've got it way above where I can ever possibly get as far as academic clout, I will say, because I'm past the point of even worrying about getting a PhD. That doesn't stop me from researching and doing my own materials. But it actually, this is the one field, I think, where you really don't have to have a degree to be an effective researcher. You have to have equipment and look up at the sky and record materials, and don't put up fake lousy evidence and crap. If you've got the good stuff, then have it and show it.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the scheme of things, you need all these different professional,
Sure.
branches. You need engineers, you need technologists, you need technicians, especially people that for us it's boots on the ground. It's there are not many researchers out there doing that. We've been in contact with some of them, and they're pretty much getting the same response that we're getting. So it's this is something that folks have distanced themselves, and like Joe brought up before, it's like I call it working in silos. And again, it doesn't help anybody. We got to lower those walls a little bit, and there's we know we definitely need the academics in there. But you also need professional engineers, people out in the field, instrumentation engineers is like what we are, and folks that know the equipment. It's that goes a long way, especially with the kind of work that we're doing out in the field. I mean, there's many times that we'll look at a result, and it may not be accurate. It may be navigation problem with the equipment, or it may be that the equipment just doesn't cover a certain range or an accuracy span that we're looking for with the certain conditions that exist. So these are the kind of things that only instrumentation engineers would be comfortable in knowing this. It's you certainly don't want to go down the wrong path simply because there's inadequacies in the equipment that's being used. And I'm not saying that it's on our end. I mean, we've definitely spent enough resources and finances to get the right equipment, the right accuracy, and that sort of thing to make these determinations.
The nice thing is you've also presented the
yes, evidence. and it's all presented in the book.
So I don't think I'm off base in saying I'll second your motion, but I'm going to swing you two into this classification, because when I first heard about you guys, I said, that is just so, and this is just typical of a layman, right? This is my layman response to you guys. I said, that is so stinking cool that a couple of engineers want to look into this. We need the scientists. I would classify you guys as the scientists / academics. One, you've published in a peer-reviewed journal. Now, that doesn't mean you're the only experts to listen to. I'm not saying that. Neither are you. I'm well aware of that. But we also need John Q. Public. We also need government people who can help get government information in our hands. We also need photographers and videographers, etc. I mean, the more, it appears to me, correct me if I'm wrong, the more variety of folk involved in our UFO community to bring about disclosure and information, I would propose the better. Am I off?
Right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, and we can't belittle the expert witnesses too. I mean, this is your police officers, law enforcement, their pilots. We need those folks. We need their accounts. We need to understand what it is that they believe that they're looking at. They're the experts in the skies. They're the experts on the ground too. So it's we definitely want to hear from them. We can't, like I said, we just can't dismiss it. And it's mostly on a case-by-case basis. We have to look at this stuff. But I don't know who coined the term, but calling us and other researchers like us citizen scientists. But Jerry and I more like the term of being more considered as an SME, a subject matter expert, by what we do for a living and how we're applying it towards this kind of research. I don't know if the term citizen scientist really, is really appropriate.
It sounds more subordinate, and to me, it's I mean,
you need this interdisciplinary approach to it, and you have experts in various fields at various levels, and there's definitely a disconnect between how academia looks at science and technology and how industry experts or industry specialists look at it. We're definitely seeing a difference. The academics have a hierarchy based on levels of education, and we see it as based on, in our area, it's based on levels of applied experience or applications experience. There's theoretical sciences, there's applied sciences.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You can read all the books ever published on going to the moon, but when you go to the moon, it's a different story. But you gotta have it all.
Right. And that's the point I was bringing up before. With pilots, I mean, who better knows the skies than these folks that are up there for many hours at a time. I mean, we fly, but we're not behind we're not in the cockpit. We're not doing navigating the aircraft. We're not having this full understanding of the aircraft itself and its capabilities, and basically referencing that to something that is not prosaic, is something that is anomalous, that doesn't follow the same rules. So you need these folks. You need the fighter pilots, Navy fighter pilots. That's important. And like I said, it's we look at a lot of retrospective data, and that's something that is important as well. I mean, we have to go through that. I mean, some things we can go through and say whether it applies or it doesn't apply, and other things we have to accept. And there's a difference between how we're approaching this and say a group like Harvard's Galileo project is they don't want to look at retrospective data, even though they are looking at it. They're not using that as a baseline, which to us, I don't see how you can begin to look at this unless you have some kind of a good retrospective data look as a baseline. The other things they're calling it, some of the scientists in that group call it anecdotal data. It's not all anecdotal data. So there is a lot of anecdotal data based on secondhand reports and witness accounts. But then you have the pilot cases, and you have the police, the law enforcement cases, and the pilot cases you have it's backed up by instrumented data. FLIR systems, multiple radar systems, airborne, ground-based radar, shipboard radar. It's various IR systems, and the commercial airlines may be task systems, but and then of course you have multiple expert observers in these things. Right, and that's a starting point. It's it depends on where you want to look at this. For many years, folks have been looking at these nocturnal lights, in the sky, and we don't want to start from the beginning and say, okay, this may be just something, and dismiss it as some form of nature, or even the drones, the drone flap. We have many people that are just dismissing it. It's that it's okay. It's nothing more than drones. Yes, there is a fair amount of sightings that are commercial air traffic, that and a lot of them are drones. There are drones out there, but there's also the side of it that doesn't seem to align, with the prosaic stuff that we're normally used to seeing. And you listen to some of these experts. In law enforcement, for instance, what was it? The Orange County Sheriff's Ocean County Sheriff's Department, where they launched their own drone, and they had some unusual instrumentation data, especially from their cameras, the thermal camera, these are things that you just can't dismiss. Got to follow it up. And that's what we're trying to say is, this is something that it's got to be explored. We can't just say they're all drones and walk away from it. We've heard some groups doing that. They just put it in one class and that's it. Okay. But that's not the case. It's not the case. And that's
and
the
there
other
have been others come out now and say, I'm trying to recall who
thing.
was it, Gary Nolan himself or some. Oh, it was on a Ross Coulthart, I believe,
Yes.
interview where he said, "Hey, there are anomalies with this New Jersey drone orbs type situation that's happening. That
Right.
they weren't all drones at all by any stretch of the imagination." So
Right. And to his credit too, Gary did mention that, if you have all these, these crafts coming off, these objects coming off the sea, and then returning to the sea, it's you got to look at some other things. You just can't throw it in one simple class and say that's it and dismiss it.
So I got a kind of a mixed response from Gary. I mean, he did mention that, and like I said, credit him with that. He mentioned the objects the Coast Guard reported off the coast of New Jersey, and of course, one of the sheriff's deputies had seen large drone-like objects, larger than typical commercial drones, coming in over the ocean from the Atlantic Ocean onto shore. And Gary mentioned, but then he went back and he mentioned that most of the inland sightings, the Jersey drones were most of them he believed they were commercial drones or airline traffic. And it really doesn't fit. I mean, the numbers were way too high. It wasn't just happening in New Jersey; it was happening throughout the entire Northeast. And that's something that we went out and actually took a look at ourselves.
Right.
And we also we were in touch with law enforcement, and they were doing their due diligence as well. Like John mentioned, the Orange County Sheriff's Department, they had set up a mobile drone unit with 2 experts that were working it, and some other officers that were assisting. They had their own industrial drone that they would launch to get close to these things, and they actually did take a video with a visible camera on the drone of an object that was pretty bizarre. It was an oval shaped, greenish illuminated object. It had 2 large orange reddish lights in the front of it and in the direction of travel, which would flash on and off. They were in the wrong positions for navigation lights. It didn't look like an airline to us. Didn't look like any typical drone. It was just very bizarre looking. And they had actually also contacted radar towers. They also checked ADS-B data, and it didn't match up with any kind of aircraft. And the fact that they had this video was pretty interesting. The other thing is they had a FLIR camera on that drone. The FLIR camera couldn't get a good thermal signature on it. And anything that's flying but has a motor on it, it's going to generate heat. It's almost impossible to hide from a thermal camera.
Yeah, even a fraction of a degree.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a differential in there. From the background temperatures and the environment itself to something that's generating a little bit of heat. You can see that. You can easily see that. And we've had also drone encounters out here on the island. We have Kabreski Airport by us that they had in one day. They had 17 anomalous objects that they call drones. But they also had drone detection systems. They had
Drone
busters, and there was little success in identifying them or even breaking those communication lines, those links. Which is really unusual. I know they use the Robin system, and the Robin is a radar, which is it's an X-band radar with limited range, about 5-mile range. But that didn't really yield any kind of definitive results either. And it should have. Especially something that is that prevalent. It's out there, and they're getting these scans. We've had the same issue with our marine-based radars, which is basically at the same frequency, a little bit longer range, but we have intermittent targets, sometimes no targets at all. So these things, we have to look at them, we have to explore them and address them, and just can't simply dismiss it.
yeah. Speaking of which, I'm not trying to shift gears at all, but in a way, let me shift gears real quick, because this is such a fascinating brand new development, and everyone is starting to get on board with this new information. Graham 19 asks a good question. What do you guys think of the planet James Webb just identified that might happen life? That I think he's talking about that new exoplanet that's been making its rounds in the news. Is that interesting or what?
Right. Yeah, actually, very interesting. I actually haven't had a chance to really dig into it, look into it, but yeah, I've heard the reports, and I found it very interesting.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. It's anything new like that. It's especially from James Webb. It's I mean, there's so many new developments with that stuff, and it's
making us question
things
about
exactly
what we thought we know about the cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the time when they can make our Sea Stars S50s like as good as the James Webb for $500. That'll be a great day. What did the James Webb cost? $5 billion or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So, hey, you do you have that? You mentioned that video of that one anomalous. When did you say you caught that in December?
Well, we caught this in December during the height of the drone-like flap, or the mystery drone flap, and that was occurring along the Northeast. Of course, it occurred throughout the United States and globally as well. We had caught an object. Okay. Let's see if we can set this up.
So this is new information, and this is what we mean by anomalous behavior.
Yes, we had caught an object that was it was lower in the sky. There was an airliner. We were tracking airliner, but there was an object that was lower in the sky. It was a single light source. It actually trailed the airliner, and it darted back and forth. Actually, it did a what do you call it? A zigzag back and forth, and then it traveled, followed the airliner, and then did a sudden drop from the sky, a vertical drop.
Yeah, maybe you can pick it out there, Joe.
Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's what makes this fun. Is new information comes out all the time. So, and I'm really grateful that you guys are putting eyes and equipment on this. Oh, hey, while you're looking for that, are you guys mostly looking at night, or do you also do some day surveillance?
We do some day searching too, but they're a little more difficult to see during the day because of where the sun is, and it can actually it can actually be blinding, and it makes it difficult to actually see some of these objects.
Yeah, and you really can't use the IR cameras and that sort of thing during the day. We are looking for dark objects, which we've seen from time to time as well.
Yeah. And while you're searching for this, I will thank you for the
sure.
Thank you for the other comment, Graham 19. He says it was on CNN, but what drives me crazy when they start making fun and laughing about it. Yeah, that's because the automatic assumption in everyone's mind, and actually it makes sense. It's understood that if you find an exoplanet with water and potential life and all, everyone's thinking UFOs, ETs, and all that, and that is still a subject that gets a lot of mockery.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just.
That's the other nice thing you guys are doing is being really professional engineers, scientists, and yet you're out here doing research on such a, I mean, I'm going to be generous when I say it's a bizarre subject because it really is. And yet here we are, we're all exploring it, and we don't care if someone mocks it. Let's get to the evidence and the ideas and see what happens. So.
Okay, I think we have it's kind of in subfolders.
Uh-oh. So with this new anomalous video and all that, is this calling for a
Okay, so I think this is a video.
Yeah, so let me gauge it. Let me start it up again. Is the one go?
Yeah, go back. You go away. Okay.
We're trying to pull up a video where they got new. They didn't show this video last time they were on my show because they didn't have it, but it is showing an anomalous behavior if we can get it up. If not, we'll find a way to get it to the audience. So
let's see.
Kind of fun to know things are still happening also, as far as I'm concerned.
There's definitely still more reports coming in. Last I heard, Pennsylvania had a flap of cases.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing these mystery drone-like objects and others.
So when that happens, have you guys ever gone very far off of Long Island in your search?
We were intending to go down to Pennsylvania to go down to Pennsylvania. We're just trying to find a good opportunity to do that.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of activity.
You need to retire so that you can do it full time.
Exactly,
that's the thing.
Yeah,
Work out.
I need to hurry up and retire. I'll come and join you.
I'd love to do this just full time.
I can tell you dumb dad jokes while we're driving.
Kerry, can you see that at all? The video?
What's that?
Can you see that? Did it load up?
No, not yet. You have to share the screen.
Screen.
Is there? It's under the present button, I think, or else you could. I wonder if you can send it.
Let's see.
You send it to me, email them maybe. Well,
so the file might be too large.
Too big. Yeah.
I'm trying to see.
Oh yeah, it won't go through my email because of the file size.
Let's see. Let's try this. Let's try the video file. Do you remember the name of that?
No, it's got a number on it.
Let me go back. Sorry, Kerry Willow.
No, it's all good. It's all good. This is part of what looking for evidence is sometimes it doesn't happen fast. So in the meantime, I got confirmation from Danny Sheehan today that David Grush is sharing names and places and people in his new capacity on the inside. They did hire him, and he is doing a bang-up job. Sheehan talked to Grush this last week. He's back in Washington, D.C., and they are going full throttle. They're not just oh, here we go. They're not just talking about it anymore. They're doing it. So, okay, so hold on. Let me put this up. Here we go.
Okay. Is this the right one? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
This is it. Oh, dude, that did zigzag, didn't it?
You'll see it hesitate. It'll dart back and forth. We were running a test on our radar on our hyperspectral cameras on the roof. Now that's a mast. It's going behind a mast.
That shot. That was definitely.
Here's an
Now, here's an airliner.
Here's an aircraft.
There's the airliner. Yeah.
Here's the aircraft.
And I've seen enough of them with my binocs to know what is.
Let's see what happens when the aircraft gets close.
Now did it hesitate?
Oh, it's going back the other way.
Yep.
And it just drops. You'll see it drop.
It'll track the airliner a little bit, then it'll drop.
That's a jet.
Oh well, that's just a drone.
I don't know what that is.
That's what they'll say.
Yep, that's just.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that thing.
You see, it just suddenly dropped.
Man.
That's it. It was gone.
Oh wow.
We caught that by accident because we just run a camera test, a PTZ hyperspectral camera on the roof.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna play that again. This time I'm gonna go. Okay, hold on. I know what I'm gonna do. Wait, I'm gonna get all of us off, and I'm gonna put just this on. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Oh, that definitely came back.
It does some weird, bizarre motions.
Yeah, unfortunately, the camera we couldn't track between the telephone wires and the communication mast on the RV.
Oh yeah.
But you do follow through there.
Here's a plane. Here's an aircraft. Here's an aircraft.
Oh, that's so fun. That came through too.
Here's the aircraft.
You see the difference with an aircraft and see that's going back.
Let's see what happens when the aircraft
it's moving. It stops, pauses, goes the other way. Like,
oh, I love this. Oh, you guys, this is spectacular.
And then it starts to track forward again, and then just drop down.
And then it rudely leaves.
Wow. I don't know what that is.
That's pretty wild. I'll tell you what.
And it just stops.
Okay, so sincerely. Oh, whoops. Yeah, you don't want me. Where is everybody? There you go. Sincerely, I have enough experience, which I'm not an expert. I have enough experience of watching through my night vision binoculars that I can so declare that was no satellite either.
No, nope.
That's not.
Yeah, it's not taking that linear path of a satellite, and it's not even overhead. It's in the distance.
Was not a star.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
I got news for you. Oh, you know, the cool thing about that is you got the wires, and I know in a way they're a bother, but in a way,
good reference.
Yeah, that's a good reference for the speed and movement. You guys, that's awesome.
And folks can see that what an airline looks like. You can see the flashing navigation lights or the anti-collision beacons. You know, it's very easy to identify an
exclusive right here on the Backyard Professor Live.
Yes.
That video has not been shown on any other program, has it?
First time.
Oh, well, I am too honored. Thank you. That's fantastic. Now, you say you caught that in December.
Yes, this was during the height of the mystery drone flap.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Okay, so where was the location?
This is over Long Island, an area called Holbrook.
Mm-hmm.
And it was roughly about 4 miles from the South Shore. I would say, mid position over the middle of the island, and the object was following it seemed to follow a flight path into MacArthur Airport. You know, these aircrafts were the jet that you saw, that airliner, was actually coming out of MacArthur Airport. It was ascending, and this object, was just below it. I would say the aircraft was, I believe the aircraft was about 6,000 to 8,000 feet when we spotted this other object.
And the object was probably approximately about 3,000 feet, something like 4,000 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so sincerely, I'm going to say this out loud. I'll commit myself to this far because I've told my audience, I said, look, I want what's real. And it's dawned on me through looking at various kinds of evidences on the various different YouTube sites. Some of them just don't cut it. Others are, ooh, that's interesting, etc. But I really want, as I'm looking through my binoculars, I can see stuff going off to the left, and I can see stuff coming down over on the right.
Yes.
Some of it's faster, some of it slower, etc. But I have an app, Stellaris.
Yes.
It will identify whether they're a satellite or not. There was one object it identified as a piece of one of the rockets from somewhere. It was space junk, but it had it labeled as such.
Yes.
And so I don't want to call a satellite a UFO, etc. And I've just recently said on my videos, sorry, you tell I'm excited about this because I just recently said, man, I would really love, you can't watch a satellite and call that anomalous, folks.
No.
You can't do that. Identify it as the satellite. Now, that's not to say UFOs aren't going to travel in straight lines. See, that's the other side of this. But this is what I was looking for. And you've got it. The Tedesco brothers, I'm just saying this out loud for my audience. The Tedesco brothers today, day before Easter, just delivered to you what I have been wanting to get. To me personally, I know that's not a satellite. From experience, I absolutely know it's not a star, it's not a planet, and it's certainly not a jetliner. And I promise it's not a helicopter, and I guarantee you it's not a balloon. Now, swamp gas potential, but not a balloon.
Might be swamp gas. Well, and that's the thing. We like I said, we've been out in the field for 3 years. We saw all kinds of satellites. We documented the satellites as far as our sky observations. We documented what helicopters look like. We documented all kinds of biomass, from birds to bats. I mean, stars. We use all the apps when we're out there, Stellarium. We use satellite tracking apps. So we make sure that that's not none of those prosaics. And of course, we're using radar,
We're using hyperspectral camera equipment, many with zoom modes. Right.
Yeah.
And
you got FLIR and all that. I mean,
yes.
you guys have it. I can't say you have it all, but oh my gosh, your resources are exceptionally tremendous so far as I can tell.
And
Hey, you've got a couple of requests and ideas. I'm going to bring my audience in on this.
Yeah.
This is what makes this so fun. This is from my friend ALS, BYP and TD Brothers. Can you comment? Are you guys familiar with the Chris Bledsoe videos captured at the festival, and to what extent this resonates with the Tedesco's experience of seeing orbs, etc.? Are you familiar with that?
We're familiar with Chris Bledsoe, and I know he's caught a lot of orbs that were quite interesting. We haven't done a deep dive on Chris's work, but what we saw was quite intriguing.
Yeah, me too. Okay, now Neil Vandeveld asks, can you ask them what they recommend as gear for doing your personal observations? Maybe some hints. That's not overly costly.
Yeah, so I would say, you know, with some general gear is having a good night vision camera. There's some really good passive cameras out there that they use a certain kind of sensor. They're Starvis sensors. They're made for planetary observations, planetary cameras they call them, or planetary image sensors. They're made by Sony. The ones that are really decent. They're IMX 464, 462s they use. They have the new sensor. It's a 991. But they're retrofitted in some of these cameras, and we had just picked up a camera actually from a company called Temu, and the camera came in at less than $200. It's got some real good sensitivity. It's got a real good definition. They're roughly around 2 megapixel, and very good night shots, all color. This is a color night camera, but I lean more towards the passive sensors than using, you know, some of the image intensifiers, the night vision scopes that have either green phosphor or white phosphor or something like that. You know, it's they can pick up low level signals, low level imagery, stars, that sort of thing. But they have a cutoff. The cutoff is generally around 1,000 nanometers. So, you know, if you're looking at something that's got an IR signature, you may not see it. You know, even though it's it's got enough sensitivity to see the stars and that sort of thing. So again, I'm leaning towards these other cameras that have these Sony IMX sensors. You know, the 462. They call them Starvis. And then they're made specifically for night vision. For stargazing, that sort of thing, you know. But there's some cameras out there that are usually utilizing them, and they're reasonably priced.
The other thing to bring out there is a really good set of binoculars. I mean, the optic on the glass, they got really good optical glass on those on some some of those units, and you get a crystal clear image.
Right. Yeah, they're not all the same, that's for sure. I mean, it's some of the cheaper glass is so degraded. It's I
know, and that's what I was told to be real careful when I was shopping for my night vision goggle or binocs. They said, okay, now understand, in a way, you get what you pay for. Exactly. I probably went over extravagant. I had a couple of friends say, yo, dude, you spent $400 too much. I spent $895, and they found some. And those dirty rats, theirs records at 4K and mine only records at 2K, but they spent half the amount of money. But oh well. Hey, here's another one for you guys. Bill Forger, have they tried using different frequencies to attract any UAPs? That's a great question. Thanks, Bill.
I'll tell you, I know this talk with Skywatcher doing that. They call it dog whistle.
Oh yeah,
yeah. We need a lot more information on that. You know, we see posts of or articles of hints of what they're talking about, but they say
they can draw these things in 100% of the time. I don't know. You would have to.
Well, they're describing it as electromechanical. You know,
electromechanical.
the electrical side of it. We kind of we think we understand. As far as frequency wise, that sort of thing. But I'm not sure about the mechanical. What they're describing as mechanical with these dog whistles.
And as far as 100% of the time, I don't know. We'd need a lot. We need a lot more data than that, and actually, it would have to be verified.
Right now, we use, we're using the millimeter wave radars that have frequencies of, they're higher order frequencies. They're 24 gigahertz, 36 gigahertz, limited range, roughly about 3 miles. But we've had some interesting encounters with the millimeter wave radars as well. Also, the marine-based radars that we use on the RV, the X-band 3 centimeter marine radars. They go a little bit further, roughly about 40 miles. And we've had some interesting targets out there, and we're not quite sure whether or not they seem to be drawn in, maybe through electromagnetic migration. But it's we've had patterns of these objects out there that seem to align themselves with the scanner itself. They're the radome antenna, and we'd see them not just over the ocean, but over the bay behind us, where we position our laboratory, which is very unusual.
And this does support with what Skywatcher is saying, that there appear to be certain electromagnetic frequencies that appear to be drawing them in, because we've had success that way by the fact that we're using radar. We're just transmitting radar waves out there. We're transmitting various the Doppler radar system out there. We're also we use an acoustic system too that we actually transmitted signals out there, and we use a certain frequency of light flashes that we've done, and we've had success with drawing them out. In fact,
yeah. And I really like how you guys, and it was genius how you did. From my opinion, I wouldn't have thought of it. So you're geniuses. Shut up and just accept the label. That's what I think you are. But you have horizontal and vertical radar all at once. So that pretty much covers the whole. That's awesome, man.
And that's a first. This is completely proprietary. Nobody else is using this active radar system,
right? Especially a vertical scanning radar, that we can reach upward of 80,000 feet into the atmosphere. You get a great profile of an aircraft, that flying within a 4 mile swath of the radar beam. So it's proved to be very beneficial in our case. Also, just want to mention too that that we have started working with another group that has written a book on warp drives, Alcubierre warp drives, and there's a theory that they have out there is that these objects are using these principles for propulsion. And these principles are also causing the kind of chromatic effects that we're seeing out in the field, these red shift and blue shifting of these objects. Also, some of the weird propagations, strange propagations of radio waves, radar, LIDAR, also heat signatures, GPS.
So they're essentially affecting all of the different.
Exactly, through a gravitational lens. And this is what we believe is what's occurring with some of our radar anomalies. And the last paper we wrote,
last show, yeah.
Yes. So the theories seem to their theory seemed to support ours. And the last paper we did was called "Unraveling Mystique: Long Delay Echoes, Anomalous Propagation of Radar Signals." When we're looking to identify UAP. And what we started doing for the newest phase, for phase 3, is actually using large targets out there, like large ships, where we can send a signal out, radio waves out, and get a large reflection coming back. Now, if we see these objects within the line of sight of these larger targets, like these ships, we're getting these odd propagations. So we're taking it a step further.
we've actually come up with some equipment. We have a modified transmitting system, a radar transmitting system using a special transducer, that we can, put these radar pulses out there and actually look at the timing, the sequence timing of the transmitted pulse versus reflected. So we can tell whether or not we're looking at, proper time sequences where the radio wave is bounced off the object and comes back, or is it coming back through some kind of a gravitational lens and causes a refraction of this radio wave, or cause these long delay reflections, these long delay echoes, which can exceed in some cases a second or two, several seconds. And
okay, so let me ask you. A lot of that went over my head. I think I'm understanding more or less, but I'm not trying to ask you to repeat it. But are you being able to get this on video and on your recording?
Yes.
For a second book or a second paper to show?
Right. Yes, so, it's actually in the second paper, and we're going to go further with that. That's why we're talking to.
Okay, you say it's in your second paper. What's your second paper?
It's called Unraveling Mystique: Long Delay Echoes, Anomalous Propagation of Radar Signals Under the Influence of UAP. Yep. And
I'm that far behind. Okay. And that's available where?
Okay, that's online. If you go to the Open Journal of Applied Science and type in Tedesco, you'll see that these articles come up. There's two of them. There's two publications in there. The second one is the most current is called the Unraveling Mystique, which is the long delay echoes. And we are working
the Open Journal of Applied Science.
Yes.
And type in the Tedesco.
Yes.
Brothers, the Tedescos. Okay.
Or it can be just typed in Unraveling Mystique, and it'll come up.
Mystique. I think I printed that one out already.
Right. Now, what John was saying is basically what, to give a simple explanation, what he's talking about is if we have a large target like a ship in the background, we'll detect the ship, and if these objects come between us and that ship, and we send out a radar signal, what happens is there seems to be a delay in the signal coming back due to possibly some kind of gravitational lensing. And what you do is the target on the radar itself, the target will actually look like it stretches, or it'll stretch, or it'll appear on the opposite end because of the delay in the signal coming back. Right, and we've been closely following Chad Wanless, who has also written a book on the subject matter of Alcubierre warp drives, and they believe he's working with another fellow, a guy named Dave, that out of Canada, that is exploring this a lot further than we have. And they've come up with some very interesting information. And, we're going to try to get them on the podcast with us so we can go through these explanations, show our data, our video data, our instrumented data, and allow them to explain some of this theoretical.
I would love to have all three of you on this podcast as well and explain.
Absolutely.
Data. Yeah, absolutely. You have an open invitation, sincerely, and you're welcome to take all the time you need. Please, let's make that happen.
Yeah, well, okay, so we'll let them. Yeah, we'll let them know that because they actually want to appear and talk about it.
Please put them on. I'm wide open for that.
Yeah, and their work, I should say, they're both engineers. One's also a professor who teaches electrical engineering. But both of them are engineers. One, Chad Wanless, is the guy we're talking about. His friend is Dave, that is co-author with on the book. They're seeing something else with these objects. They're seeing some of the same things we're seeing, but they're seeing something else that we're gonna review our data and our videos to see if we see the same kinds of things. Right. So what we're doing is we're collaborating. Two different sets of eyes and two different methodologies.
Bring me into this orbit, and I will put you guys on this show as often as you need, and let's get the data. That would be my honor, sincerely.
Yeah. Perfect.
I have another comment here that I want to share. I'm not trying to interrupt you. I want you to keep going, but this gentleman offered some help with something, and I want to make sure you guys get this. I hope I didn't lose it. Oh, here we go. ALS, my friend ALS. Tedesco's, if you think cameras of the company Eve Long Range is something in your alley, I could set you up.
Absolutely, contact us.
So here's someone who is offering to potentially get us more equipment.
Sure.
Awesome.
Sure, absolutely. We're open.
ALS, if you would contact me, email, I'll make sure the Tedescos get in touch with you. Now, that is wonderful. Thank you for that generous offer. Absolutely. The more, the better. The more kind of
right. And we've been designing new technology too that we actually just posted on LinkedIn. We'll put it out there. It's a multispectral detector for researchers that are out there, that might help with some of the data that they're collecting.
See, I have engineer envy, man. You guys are designing your own equipment. That rocks. Oh, look at that.
Right. So this is the latest piece of equipment. This is full scale integration and miniaturization of the equipment. It's a simplified version of what we have, our full integrated system, but it's strictly a detector. It'll detect the electromagnetic spectrum from UV all the way down from visible UV to visible to.
Can I get one of them?
Near shortwave IR? Sure. It's so on the top there's a bunch of LEDs on it, and they're all detectors. There's 5 detectors in the front reflector, and each detector detects a certain portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. UVC, which is a very narrow, between 100 and 190 to 200 nanometers, and these sensors are extremely sensitive. Jerry and I just did some calibration on it and some measurements where we actually had a 3 millimeter arc from a discharge lighter, an arc lighter, and this 3 millimeter arc we could detect it with the UVC sensor from almost 800 feet away.
Oh,
so an object that's even larger than that, let's say the size of a football, we're detecting it as far as a half a mile.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
wow.
the detectors themselves are extremely sensitive. There's also UVB. It detects that particular range. There's near infrared.
You can
all at once, huh?
You can actually see the LEDs are on.
See the LEDs, and then you'll see
because they're outdoors.
UVC, UVB.
Hold it up just a little higher, Jerry.
Yeah.
There you go. Right there. Okay. Yeah.
And this is a prototype, of course.
You'll still see UVC,
Right.
UVB, UVA, shortwave infrared, all the way down to shortwave
and pulse mode as well. So if there's a changing signal that's encoded in some way, it'll basically detect that signal. Again, very sensitive, because all these sensors are interfaced with instrumentation amplifiers that have almost 10,000 times gain. They're really, really sensitive. It also has alarm modes,
and the sensors are in the
right. And this one also has an IR camera on the bottom. To reference the IR video with the detection.
Your sensors are up here.
Now, I'm telling you, there's not a one of us in the UFO community that wouldn't love to have one of those. So you guys got to get making a bunch of them. I'll help you sell them.
Right.
Yeah, but the problem is that everyone's going to say, "See, the Tedescos are just a bunch of grifters." And so odd how some people think, but oh well.
And along with that, we have a handheld millimeter wave radar that's also in development right now. We have a prototype out. We're getting a company to manufacture the housing for it. This millimeter wave radar it's a 10 milliwatt device, which falls within the FCC requirements, that sort of thing. But it also has a 3-mile range, simply because of the horn design.
That's pretty good.
And it's a Doppler system. So, if there is a movement, with an object that's transversing at better than 3 miles per hour, this thing will pick it up and give you those Doppler tones, which equate to the frequency and speed. So you'll hear those Doppler changes.
You're making it so I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I'm going to have to get me one of them, gentlemen.
We'll show you something that's in the works right now. This is
all right.
So this is a pulse radar system.
A pulse radar system.
Yeah, this is in development right now. This is what we're using for the newest phase of our research, which is looking at those long delay echoes. So it's a single pulse. There's no frequency to this. It's a single pulse that it produces. The reflection is timed, and it's displayed where you get a period of time from transmitted pulse to reflected pulse, and you can equate those times with with of course the speed of radio waves, the speed of light, that sort of thing. But with these long delay echoes, we have a clear indication of basically documenting those effects. The type of radar systems that are used, the continuous wave radar systems, are not really good to use in this case, because we want to send out that pulse, very narrow pulse, and we want to look at those returns. We don't want something consistent like the marine-based radar systems are no good for that purpose. The millimeter wave radar does produce a pulse, but we want a little bit greater range. And
sure.
Again, this is working with this other group. We're trying to get hardcore data on this stuff, and we've seen it before. We believe that we can, and with this new design, we're going to be able to document that.
See, here's what, in all sincerity, here's what just turns me on about this whole thing. You guys have really nice equipment, but you're not resting on those laurels. You are actually creating more all-inclusive equipment to do more in order to help us try to understand this phenomenon.
Right. We were presented with new data. It's when we started to see these odd propagation patterns, these odd interference patterns with radar. We said, we're gonna have to go take the next step. We're gonna have to look at this and analyze it a little bit closer, and so we've developed the equipment to do that. So it's it's an ongoing thing. It's technological growth, and of course, it's we're incorporating new technologies in order to document that stuff and hopefully produce a joint paper with this other group.
As I said, when the research, even the field research, when it has a lull in the field research, and we're during our downtime, we're doing data analysis of everything that we recorded before, and we're carefully looking at everything, see if there's something we missed or something that's happening, a behavior that would be that looks very anomalous to us, and that's how this evolves.
Right.
We developed a hypothesis for it, and now we're trying to independently verify it.
Right.
And this is the hypothesis. Yep.
And this is why it's so important for us to to knock these walls down a little bit. Is work with academia. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. There's on the science end, we do need to work with these folks. We do need to work with the scientists, that sort of thing, and explore these other things, these anomalies that we're seeing. It's we're the engineers. We can certainly get the technology together to document it. But again, we need the help of academia as well.
And I got to say something about that. When you're talking about objects with a possible propulsion system, your first line of inquiry should definitely be engineers, especially if aerospace engineering, various engineering areas, from electrical to aerospace to mechanical. You want to reach out to it. You want engineers looking at it first.
Right. I mean, and this may not just line up with the classical mechanics. It's we need to explore those other possibilities. We need to explore the stuff that remains in question. It's to say that well, we don't have technology that does what this stuff does, but we need to understand what that is. And it's
engineers are pretty clever.
I was going to say,
work around
if you don't have the technology, crap, just make your own. This, I'm serious. This is one of the absolute premier qualities of having citizen scientists who are also, that's why I said, you guys, engineers, and you're looking at UFOs, how stinking cool is that?
Well, that's the thing. It's not just happening within academia. It's not just happening within one or two groups. It's happening broadly across the field. And like I said, these people all need to be collaborating. Need to be looking at that data when it's coming out, not disregarding it or ignoring it because you didn't come up with it or because it doesn't fit your particular hierarchy of the way things work.
Right. And this is the message today too. It's that, we there was a lot of groups, not just ourselves, but there's other groups that want to work, collaboratively with other, folks, academics and the universities and so forth. And we just want to open that up a little bit. That's
Sure.
the days of silos. We got to break that down. Can't have that.
I appreciate that you're inclusive with the academia, but with that other gentleman also, you're working with other engineers and people. And I'm very sincerely serious, and my audience is responding pretty good too. I would really like to have all three of you guys come back on.
So maybe that would be our first stop. Is your program?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't care about exclusive, but I do care about getting it out. That your work is too important, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I need to, what I want to do with you guys, I probably shouldn't say this live. I'll commit us. You're ready? I would like to do an entire series with you guys because of each one of the instruments, maybe for an hour or whatever, to explain more of the detail and go through your charts in your book or whatever. But no, we're not trying to look. Hey, let me ask you guys a personal question, kind of, because I am an author, so I think I have some insight into this. But did you guys make a lot of money off this book?
No.
Yeah. Look at the reaction, audience. You look at that reaction.
I think it cost us money.
It cost us money. It's not on the bestsellers list, and we've probably given away more books than we sold.
Yeah, my experience. Yep, my experience exactly with my book, man. I've told my audience, people who call people who write books grifters, I said, you're not being fair. You don't understand the publishing world, then. None of us make money off the books we write.
No, not at all.
My publisher took 99% off the top.
The publisher takes the biggest part of that. You get that small percentage that's there, and you better make a lot of sales in order to make any money.
Right.
Yeah, and I only sold well, the guy that I co-authored it with, he actually told me, he said, look, dude, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme at all. We will both probably make about $4,500. And over the course of the print run for 4 years, that's what we made. I think I made like $4,458 in 4 years. So if that's grifting, I'm not interested.
And that's about right.
All right. Well, thank you. I just wanted to see if you guys had that same experience as I did. So,
yeah. Right. And as far as Skywatcher, we'd love to hear from them.
I do. I want to
cast the characters.
Well, here's what I want to say about Skywatcher. Like this, I don't know Jake Barber personally. He's a military guy. I respect that. He's been out there. We so totally support what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Our issue was that Gary Nolan linked up with them, and that's fine. But he had posted something on X, and he made it a claim that what they were doing was the most comprehensive work that's been done so far. And he didn't bring up our names. The Tedescos are doing something, but he says that they're in an alleged place, an alleged hotspot. But based on, and this is his opinion, that Skywatcher was doing the most comprehensive work. And I'm gonna push back on that. We're pushing back on that because the most comprehensive work. There's others been doing the work. UAPX needs credit. Heslin Project needs credit.
Yep.
There's a scientist named Harley Rutledge back in the 70s and 80s. He had a group out there for 7 years. Project identification.
Powerful
he needs
study.
credit. Great study.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's others that came before us. We've done the most highly sophisticated instrumented study out there to date. And to make this claim, and basically kind of rides over what we did. Jake was on the Ross Coulthard show with he had an advisor there named Matthew Pines, and they were talking about that others got maybe a single photo, or they went out there maybe for a couple days, a few days here and there. And I know Gary Nolan on I think it was episode 2 of the Skywatcher series, television series or docudrama series, had said that this has never been done before. That's simply not true. It's not true. Right. It's been done. It's been done by other groups and other groups before that, and it's been done by us in a very sophisticated level.
Right.
And you know, if you're gonna, you really should. I mean, be respectful and be respectful and just acknowledge that. You know, it's fine that you're pursuing it. And then they talk about starting from scratch. They're starting from scratch, and they're creating this a morphology list of objects, 6 levels of success, to solidify it as a scientific pursuit. You know, all these things that he mentioned, like Matthew Pines had mentioned, from level 1. Let me just take a look at. He had level 1 is the secondhand data from they follow reports that other people have made. Level 2 is structured data collection, which they talk about using sensor systems. Level 3, they talk about after they collect the data over a period of time and in a controlled environment, they do hypothesis testing. That's level 3. Level 4 is getting data peer reviewed. And then of course, after the peer review process or simultaneously getting it independently tested. Now we've done all that. It's already been done already. We followed those we created guidelines. We followed those. My guess is they probably borrowed it from our data and from our publications. It's in our abstracts. It's in our papers. Exactly how we pursued this. This a similar kind of outline, you know. And you know they say created, you know, something, you know, they believe is more comprehensive. But
yeah, and the thing is to be transparent about it. It's, you know, nothing should be done in secrecy. You know, let's share with the public. Let's put it all out there. Let's share the resources. You know, we have equipment that maybe they don't have, and you know, we're happy to send that out. You know, we're happy to share the resources, that sort of thing. Absolutely. And you know, that's but we also want to learn from them, and you know, maybe they can learn a little something.
Well, yeah, if they've collected data we haven't seen before, that's what collaboration is. We share it. We've collected the data, all the initial data. We've collected it, and we did a good job collecting it. Multimodal means it's layered data based on a lot of sensor systems, good high quality laboratory grade, and all calibrated
instrumentation. Yes, and
you know, so you know, they you know, the more people doing the work out there, it requires a lot of people doing and using different methodologies. That's how we're going to build a case.
And the other thing I want to say is that funding is a very big problem right now. You know, getting proper funding. Everybody's in the same boat. It's very difficult. You know, a more collaborative effort. You know, to break some of these barriers with the funding issue.
We've had enough competition with the government keeping stuff away from us.
Right.
Let's all do this as citizens.
Right.
Scientists.
We certainly don't need it at this level.
And this of course is what UAPX had dealt with as well. You know, Kevin Knuth and Matthew Sadagas.
And they were troubled by that same thing. You know, they weren't necessarily invited to all the 3 think tanks.
Kevin Knuth. I mean, that guy is sterling.
No, we've worked with him quite a bit. It's you know, great deal of respect for Kevin.
And he's acknowledged us. Like I says, respect to Kevin and Matthew. They've acknowledged us. Even Beatrice Villaroel had acknowledged us in her paper she wrote. But for the most part, most of the other academics
uh, it's almost like a cancel culture time mentality. They think if they don't talk about our work or our name never comes up, that that rivalry or competition that they perceive.
Yeah, we're not in competition.
Right, and that's
No, we're not.
you see these meetings coming up, like with SCU and of course the Soul Foundation.
You won't see us in the invitation list.
Right. Yeah. So that's that. That we call that into question.
That's okay. You just come back here. You've got an open invite every night. We'll get you out there. We'll get you out there.
Yeah. And I just want to say too is that we're very thankful for all the volunteers that have helped us out, that devote their time and energy out there, because it's increasingly difficult for two 63-year-old guys, and and I'm dealing with some health issues that they make it almost impossible sometimes to be out there and getting about. It's
right.
And I'm not going to go into that kind of the detail, but I try my best. We try to get out there, but we rely on our volunteers. We rely on our researchers.
and they're out there because they're out there because they have passion for this. They're not looking for financial gain. They're passion, and we thank, like says, we feed them out there. We make sure they're entertained. And while they're working.
Yeah. Okay. So, wow. For me, this has been this has been my favorite podcast I've done so far. And what I would like to do, absolutely, have you guys back, because we'll arrange some time. But I would like to end this podcast again, just so my audience understands, because there's about 40 more here now than was earlier. The Tedescos showed us a video they captured, and you guys are welcome to comment on this again, please do. In December, we didn't see this in my first time with these gentlemen because they didn't have it. They're sharing with us something here that I would love to get. This, by my own definition, as Sitson, I'm not a scientist, but as Sitson determined to find the real, this fits the anomalous. And I would like to show this video one more time, this video clip. And please, you guys, if you want, please comment while we're showing this. This is a great, great piece of evidence, in my opinion.
What did it drop?
Here we go.
Okay, so we're running a test on our camera system.
At the time, this video was taken.
I didn't stop it, did I?
I think it froze on you.
Really? No way.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Sorry.
So we were running. This is a camera's top side. You can see it just went backwards. It does these direction changes.
It was just an orb of light out there.
Yep, just an orb of light. There's no navigation lights on it.
That's pretty amazing.
It's very bright.
Corner of the glass.
Now that's the mast that's on top of our near our camera.
Yeah, antenna mast.
So we're passing behind the mast.
We
look.
Here's
We pan to look at this aircraft.
Wow. Here's the aircraft.
Now here's the object coming back.
Ahead of it.
And it's
Let's
coming
see what happens
back.
when the aircraft gets close.
Oh, there it goes. There's the
Zigzag
back and
that
forth.
stopped, and now
Back and forth.
okay.
Stop again.
Yep.
Now it seems to be interested in this plane. It'll follow it.
And then it just drops down to the ground.
Wow. I don't know what that is. That's pretty wild.
And then you see it sudden drop.
And then it just drops.
What did it drop?
I am just not even kidding. That is so much fun. I can't hardly stand it. Yeah. Congratulations on getting that. Now we would hope all of us, or any of us, or many of us, could get more information like that, video, etc. I don't know if any other UFO channels are going to see this and acknowledge that we have an actual video clip of an actual anomalous behavior, but that, in my opinion, would qualify, sincerely.
And I'll tell you, we've had other interesting objects like that when we were out trying to observe these things during that mystery drone flap. But like I said, two weeks, and we did it 2 weeks in December 24, and we did it a week in January. We actually had an object that was stationary for about an hour before it moved, and it was still even in strong winds.
Oh, no kidding. Oh,
Yeah. So unless somebody can tell me what the power source is that kept if they're saying it's a drone, kept in a loft for an hour, still in strong winds with bright lighting. It was a single bright luminous light. That's a tremendous power requirement to stay up there.
it would be. Yeah. Yeah, it would be. How fun. How interesting. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. I have what I love about this is I have so much fun with you guys. It's so easy just to have so much fun with you guys because your information is so cool. And it's interesting.
It's fun for us, though. Yeah. You got to come out and join us.
I hope so. You're always welcome back, and we will have you back. I guarantee it. So
sure, we'll be back.
I'd like to thank the audience for all your wonderful questions and participating and sharing your ideas, too.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We will be back soon. We wish you all a happy Easter. We're going to head out and get ready for Easter. And we'll be back just as soon as we can with much more information. Spread the word. The Tedesco brothers genuinely have a video that appears to me to be quite anomalous in its behavior. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will catch up to you just as soon as we can.
Thank you, Kerry.